Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name's Lorraine. I'm coming to you from the UK. So it's been quite a while since my last video, my last podcast type video. I have posted a couple of with me videos. So I did a knit with me video and a stitch with me video that I posted just to kind of get a feel for how many people were likely to be interested in seeing that kind of video from me. So if you haven't checked them out, then please have a look at those. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, I will crack on with showing you what I've got. So I've got some knitting, crocheting and cross stitching to share with you today. I have done a little bit of latch hook during the Christmas period, but I haven't got it up here, so I'm going to leave that till next time. So let's go straight into the knitting. So first up, I have some socks that I managed to finish. So I think I showed you some socks that I did previously using the Litmus Cowl set, and that was by Pixie Yarns. I think I showed you that a couple of videos back, and I had some yarn left over, so I decided to use up the rest of the yarn, at least the grey, with these socks. So I made some shorty socks. This is what they look like. They are using my my normal vanilla sock recipe. So that is a 64 stitch sock, 2x2 rib for about 2 inches, and then knit down to, well, with this, in this case I did an afterthought heel sock. So I knit the body of the sock and completed the toe. So the stripes I think were every 7 rows, using the Litmus Cowl colours. And then after I'd done that for the length of the foot, I then I finished off the toe with a rounded toe, and then I cut in the heel when it was, well, in the appropriate place for my foot size. So what I like about these, and I don't think I've ever done this on socks, is that they have that kind of bullseye effect when you do the socks this way, when you're doing stripy socks. So I quite like those. I haven't worn these yet. This is what they look like. I'm pleased with this. So last video I did a pair of afterthought heel socks, and I used the waste yarn method to cut in the heel. This one is not using the waste yarn method, and it's so much neater around the edges here, around the heel. I find it so much easier to get a nice neat join there on each sock. The only thing that I do struggle with is the striping. Not the striping, but this section here where I've done end of round. I know that there are ways to, when you're doing stripy socks, to ensure that the stripe doesn't jog, but I didn't have the headspace for that, and so I just did them as I've done here, and I've made it so that the joins are facing each other that way, so you shouldn't see those if I were to walk around the house or anywhere else without my shoes on. You will only see the outer edge generally. You're not going to be looking at the inner edge, but that's what they look like. So I'm really pleased with these, and now that I've shown you what they look like, I can actually get wearing them. So that's those. I have also, I'm not sure if I mentioned this last video, but I was thinking about doing no, I mentioned it in my knit with me video. I had a jumper which was called the Edgartown Light jumper that I knit a couple of years back, and I used some yarn, which is this yarn. I'll try and insert a picture of what the jumper looked like, the Edgartown Light jumper, and it's quite low in the neck. I think since I've knit it, it's probably stretched a little bit. It's quite wide in the neck. It's not fitting the way I want it to fit, so I've decided that I'm gonna repurpose the yarn from that jumper and make something else. So the idea was the Flax jumper. So this is the jumper that I found. This is available in Ravelry. I'm not sure if it's available anywhere else, but it is a free pattern. and I decided, I've had it in my library for quite a long time, and I decided, right, I'm going to have a go at this and see how I get on, and just use that yarn to make this jumper. So that's what I've done. So I reclaimed the yarn, insert a picture there of what the yarn looks like, and this is what it looks like in real life. And now, having been wound up, it's blue with speckles of different tones of blue and also brown, and I really love the yarn. It's a superwash merino yarn, yeah, and it's a DK weight, and as I said, it's by Biff Sugar Yarns. She doesn't do this colourway anymore, so not to my knowledge, so I don't think you can get this exact colour, but she may do something similar if you're interested. So I've had a start on this. I am doing 1, 2, 3, the 4th size. I did start doing the 3rd size, and then I tried it on and I wasn't comfortable. It was a bit too snug fitting, so then I frogged it all back and started again. And so now I am doing size number 4 in the adult sizes, and this is what it's looking like. So I've got this far. I've done the obviously the yoke, I've separated the sleeves, I've joined for the body, and I'm just working the body until it's long enough in the round, and to me it's looking quite good. The only thing is, I noticed, having got this far, I was looking at it one day and I thought, hang on, this doesn't quite look how it's supposed to look. What is the problem here? Not quite understanding what the problem is. I noticed that with the jumper here, when I've tried it on, these bits tend to stick out a bit here, and I wasn't sure why. And on further investigation, if you can see here, it sticks out a bit. On further investigation, I started to notice that my sleeves are wrong. So my sleeves are all garter stitch sleeves, and when I looked at the pattern, I've realised, hang on a second, they're not all garter stitch. So it's only a section of it that is garter stitched, and I couldn't quite figure out, how did I get that so wrong? Is it me that's wrong, or have I done what have I done wrong? I don't get it. So anyway, having looked at it, I realised that I've obviously misread the pattern somehow. I haven't been in the right headspace to look at the pattern again in depth to figure out what exactly I did wrong and where exactly I went wrong. Not quite sure how to remedy it, but I'm definitely certain that I'm not frogging this again. So I just want to know where I went wrong for future reference, so that I can next time do it according to the pattern, because I figure that if I do, if I'm working the whole stitch in garter stitch, I think that garter stitch uses up more yarn, so I'm probably going to end up with less yarn by the time I get to do the sleeves. So we shall see. I might be playing yarn chicken, but yeah, we will see. But I'm not frogging it if I don't have to. I'm just going to continue on, and I'm going to finish it. And also, I noticed when I was going back on Ravelry to look at the pattern to figure out where I went wrong, I also noticed that they have an addition to this pattern, which is for optional short row shaping for this jumper. So it makes instead of the back and front being exactly the same, which is what they are, it makes the back higher, and then the front, you know, and then obviously the front looks lower, so it would lift up the back a bit, so you can differentiate between front and back. So there is the option for short row shaping, but obviously that I only noticed that after I went on there to check what I'd done wrong with the sleeves. So it is what it is. I'm using 4mm needles, so I think I used 3.75mm needles for the ribbing, and I'm using 4mm needles for the body. Obviously you work according to your gauge on this pattern, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So yeah, so that's where I am with this one. Hopefully I will be able to get this one finished by February, that's the hope, because I'd quite like to be able to wear it when it starts to get a little bit colder over here in the UK. So that is where I am with that. Watch this space. hopefully I won't have to rip it back because I really don't want to frog it, but there we go. Also, because I noticed the mistake on this and I was a little bit like, oh no, I don't want to have to knit on that knowing that it's wrong. So I decided to cast on another project. So I've had this one in my stash for a long time. So this is called the Giverny hat, and this is from Knit Now magazine. I've had this for years. This is what it looks like. It's a double knit hat, and it's got some kind of, what do you call it, some lace work on it. And I quite like the look of this, and I've had it for a while, been sitting on it for a good few years in the hope that I can find some yarn or eventually get up the motivation to actually knit it. So because of my fiasco with the Flax project, I decided to have a go at casting this on and just take my mind off of my misery from that project. So I was gifted some black sparkly yarn, and this is what it looks like. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. I've got a couple of, probably about 3 balls of this yarn that I have been gifted, so I thought, hey, why not just try and make a hat out of it. I know that black yarn is very difficult to work with in terms of being able to see patterns and stuff, but I thought, you know what, let's give it a go and see what happens. Otherwise I'm going to have to buy some DK weight yarn specifically to make that hat, and I don't really want to buy any new yarn at the moment. I'm trying to work through my stash. So this is how far I've got with it. Not very far, admittedly. I'm on the ribbing. It's a magazine pattern, so I can't really give you any information other than that the ribbing is done using slip stitches. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the ribbing there? That's what it looks like. The inside looks like that. So it's quite an interesting pattern for the ribbing. I've got probably, I don't know, about another centimetre or so or less before I've finished with the ribbon and I can actually move on to the pattern of the hat, the main body of the hat. But that is how far I am with this, and I'm working this. This one actually tells you to use one size needle for the whole of the pattern, 4mm needles, but I know that when I've knit hats before and I use the same needle size for the ribbing as for the main body of the hat, it just makes the ribbing quite loose. It doesn't fit as snugly as I'd like it to on the rib section. So instead of that, I've done 3.75, I'm working on the ribbing using 3.5mm needles, and then I will move up to my 4mm needles for the hat. And these are, I think, 16-inch circular needles, which is great for hat knitting. So yeah, so that's where I am with that. So I think that is all of my knitting. I've showed you the socks, I've showed you the jumper, and this is the hat. So yeah, let's move on to crochet. I forgot to mention that for incoming in my knitting section, I picked up a pattern which was, it's being knit by Talia of Pen Hook and Needles channel podcast, and she was working on the Bavarian diamond sock pattern, which is by Lorna's Laces. It's a free pattern on Lovecrafts, and I like the look of it, so I went online, had a look for it and found it, and that's the pattern. So that is my new not purchase, but new download, I guess, to add to my library. These, I was hoping it was in a finger and weight yarn, but this is done in a sport weight yarn, so I'll have to figure this one out. But I like the pattern, so I picked that up. So that's that. That is the end of my knitting section. So the only bit of crocheting I have been doing this time round has been my scrappy blanket. So each year I like to work on a scrappy blanket and then donate it to a charity shop for sale. And this year I have been, well actually I started this last year because I finished one and got rid of that one. So I started this one with some yarn that I was gifted. I can't remember, I think I showed you the squares, but now I've sewn them together. So I have worked, most of the squares are this style, with the exception of this one, which I added in because I had done a granny square and I wanted to use up the square for this. This one, I think I started this for the filing cabinet cover that I showed a couple of videos ago. Because I finished that one, I thought there was some excess yarn left, so I thought I'd just stick it in this project because it's a scrappy blanket, and so that's why that one looks odd. But the rest of them are the same style, but just using up leftover bits of yarn. So that's what it looks like. We've got the rainbow colours there, and then some pinks there, and plain pinks there, and then I have red to use and blue, so yeah, I've got a little bit more to add in, and then throughout the year, as I use up, if I buy any new yarn and use those up in projects, then they will go into this scrappy blanket, so it will just get bigger and bigger. So yeah, and I am using a, which one have I been using? I can't remember if I've been using a 5mm hook, sorry, 4.5mm hook, which is a 7, or a 4mm hook, which is a G. But these are the hooks that I have been using, which are clover hooks. I really like these. They're very easy to use, they're soft in my hand, quite ergonomic. They've got this kind of flat top here and then curve on there, and they're quite easy because I hold my hook like this. I find them really easy and comfortable to use. So I'm alternating between these two hooks, it seems. But yeah, that's where I am with the blanket. I've not done a lot, but I've stitched them all together, and I will just continue to add to it as the year progresses. So that's all the crocheting. Now let's move on to cross stitching. So my cross stitching has increased. So I have been working on a number of different cross stitch projects. I'm going to start by showing you the Lakeside Village cross stitch piece. So last video I showed you that I had completed the stitching. I'd started doing a little bit of the back stitching, did a bit of couching because I wasn't keen on the back stitching for the rope, and now I've finished all of the back stitching and I'm done with it, and I just need to decide what to do with it. So hopefully you can see here, I changed this rope to the couching because I didn't like the back stitching on that, and it's not brilliant couching. I think I need a bit more practice on that, but it seems to be, to me it's a lot better than it was with the back stitching. So there's back stitching on the boat, which I didn't enjoy doing because I couldn't quite get the placement correct around the boats, and so I did it on one boat and then I just gave up on this one. I did the outline and didn't bother to do the inner bits of the boat. I've done the wall, the steps. Last time I showed you I hadn't done the white bit on the hood here. Let me see if I can get a bit closer. Right, so I hadn't done this white bit on the hood. I think I hadn't done the little fence here. There was some detailing up here, white bits here on the roofs, some details of the shutters here and there and there, and outline of windows, this bit here, and a little bit over here was done, and a little bit over here. So I've done all of the back stitching now. This is a finished object, a properly finished object. It just needs to be displayed somehow. So I've just got to figure out what I want to do with it and get going on that. So that is that one. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. As I explained to you in the last video, I was gushing. So since then I have been trying to pick up on some of the things that I had put down where I was trying to finish that off. And I think the first thing that I decided to start a new project, and let's see, I started two. So I decided to start a new project, and that one, the first one that I started, oops, is this one. Actually, I did the, what do you call it one, didn't I? I was doing the Christmas stitching, that's the one. So I started on the Christmas stitching project. I was working on the stocking, so it's Santa's Sidecar stocking. This was what I was doing. I was concentrating on this over Christmas once I finished Lakeside Village, and I had got a certain amount done. I will insert a picture of where I was last time, and now I am here. So I've posted pictures on Instagram. Oh gosh, look at this. I can see from this angle. I've put the eyes on Santa using, what do you call these again? Oh gosh, I've forgotten what they're called. Knots, something knots. I can't remember what they're called now. I will remember in a second. French knots, that's right. So I did 2 French knots for the eyes, but as you saw from my picture last time, in my video when I was working on this, my budgie has pulled at those. He seems to have been tempted by the French knots and he's been pulling at them, so they're protruding a little bit. It looks a bit odd. Anyway, I have worked on Santa. I managed to finish up Santa completely with that section, and I moved over to work on the ball. So I did a lot of stitching on the ball, and then I realised I'd gone off count somehow. It's a little bit off, and I'm not going to, oh gosh, I'm not going to rip it back. I'm not going to frog it. I'm just going to blag it, and I'm just going to continue on from where I left off and just make it up as I go along until I meet the place that it's actually matches what the chart shows. So that's how I'm working this one. I'm not stressing over it. I'm not going to unpick anything. I'm just going to move forward, and that's where I am. So I kind of lost the motivation to work on this one again since Christmas has passed now. I'm not going to get this done, well, Christmas has passed. So my stitchy bug for this piece has gone for the time being, and I've been focusing on other projects. So this is a Dimensions kit, and it's worked on 14 count blue Aida, and it's stitched 2 over 1. These are all there's no blended threads in this one, so it's quite easy. Oh, it's got dirty. It seems to have got dirty somehow. Well, that's not good. Anyway, yeah, that's where I am with this one, and I have put it away and I am moving on to other things. So with the new year approaching and wanting to do something new, I decided then to start stitching on a new piece, which is this one. This is my Disney 7 Dwarfs cross stitch kit. This was given to me as a gift, complete with the Aida, and so the Aida that has come with this is a 16 count Aida. 16 count, I think it's white, I can't be sure because it was gifted to me, but that's what I'm working on, the 7 Dwarfs. So I decided that the colours on this are quite dull, bland, they're not bright, so I've just kind of decided to use whatever colours I have in my stash and just kind of use colours that take my fancy for whichever dwarf. I'm trying to get it close to what it is here, but I quite like the colours to be a bit more bright. So this is where I am with this piece. So the hat is orange. I've used a bright orange for the hat. I don't have all the colours. What I found with this piece is that it uses DMC threads, as far as I can tell. It doesn't actually say what threads it uses. It just says, because it's a kit and it comes with stranded cotton, it doesn't tell you which brand the cotton is from, but because it said 310 black, I assumed that that was DMC colours, and so I tried to kit up this project with DMC threads that I had, but when I went to match the thread colours when I was kitting up the threads, I noticed that the colours don't seem to correspond with what's on the front of the packet. So I got a bit confused. I wasn't quite, it didn't look right. Like for example, the brown in his top is described as cerise colour, and when I look at it I'm like, that's not cerise. And then when I tried to find the colours, some of the colours that I found in my own kit, they don't look the way this looks. So I've just been trying to match the colours to some extent that I can see visibly on the front of the packet to to what I'm using, rather than trying to stick to the described colours per the DMC list. I think it's a DMC list. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. The colours don't seem to match to what is on the front of the packet. So I've been working with my own colours. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been putting in colours that I feel will match, and so that's why mine looks slightly different from the actual packet of the kit. So yeah, 16 count white Aida. I think it's white because it is. I mean, it looks white, but it could be a creamy coloured white. You know, they have fancy names for certain Aidas, don't they? But yeah, it looks like white Aida, and that is stitched 2 over 1. There aren't any blended threads in this. The one thing that has been quite annoying about this piece is that there are fractionals. So to get the shaping up here, for example, and up here, and sometimes the shapings around the body and stuff, they've used a lot of fractional stitches, and that can be a little bit annoying when you're having to work on Aida, because I'm having to pierce the Aida to get the half stitches. But it's not difficult, it's just annoying. It's just fiddly. But it does actually, I wasn't impressed at first when I started working on this. When I first started working on him, because I'm working on him first and I'm going that way, and I started working on him first, and I wasn't impressed with the way it was looking. I was a bit annoyed by the fact that the colours weren't matching properly. And then when I started to do the actual back stitching, I was like, oh, it actually looks like how it's meant to look on the packet. It actually really does look a bit like it's meant to look. So that's kind of spurred me on to continue working on this, and it's made it more enjoyable. So then I started working on him, and again, my back stitching is not 100% accurate. When I find that I'm not enjoying the back stitching, I tend to just make it up as I go along and work as closely as I can to the chart. So I've done that in some cases, but it's looking very much like it does on the packet, so I'm quite impressed with myself. So that's what it's looking like at the moment. Hopefully next time, when I come back and show you the update, I'll have done the next one. And I don't know who that one is. Grumpy. I will have done Grumpy hopefully next time, so watch this space. So that's that one. Then I did another new start, because I mean, you can't have enough new starts, and I just wanted to do something different. So I have Swimming School by Bothy threads in my kit. This is a kit, and it is worked on 14 count Aida. Is it 14? Yeah, 14 counts Zygar Aida, and it's a spotted one. What do they call it? It's called a blue bubble background. So that's what it's going to look like. And this is what I have done so far. So this is up, because that's where my needle is. That's where I am so far. So I have been working on, I think I'm on this section under here, around here, and that's where I am. There. So it's not a lot done. I mean, not to be able to identify what it is going to be, but it took me quite a while to do this lot. So I'm pleased with this. I think I'm going to enjoy this because it's only a couple of colours. There aren't that many colours in the thread pack. So these are all the colours. So it should be quite an easy stitch, not a lot of colour changes. And because it's on 14 count, there aren't any fractionals on this one usually. Although, what does it say? The kit uses full crosses and a few fractionals. They don't, Bothy thread kits don't usually use fractionals, so I'll be surprised if I actually do come across any fractionals. But it does do back stitching, but it doesn't seem to be a lot of back stitching either. So hopefully I will be able to finish this one up. And I'm intending for this one to be finished and then hung in my bathroom because it's water related. I've got the seahorse one that I did. That one is in my other bathroom. So yeah, I like the fact that it's water related and it just looks really nice. The colours on that one were amazing, and I got so many compliments on that one. So that was my second new start. I have one stitchy project left, and that is my modern folk embroidery piece, and that was called Fruit of Plenty. It was a stitch along from 2021. I am way behind purely because I started it in about, I don't know, September. I decided I wanted to do a project and I found it, came across it in around September, seen other people doing it, and so then I decided to purchase the chart, and so I started it late. So I am now on, I finished April. This is what it looks like now. So I'm really pleased with how far I've got with this. I'm still enjoying stitching it, and I like the way it looks. I've made a million mistakes on it, but I don't think when it's done that anyone is really going to be noticing what the mistakes are or were. So I haven't been sweating the small stuff. Let's see if I can show you. Just take these bits off. I should have done this beforehand, shouldn't I? But now my Q-snap is falling apart. Give me a second. Put this back together and then I can hold it up properly. So, where was I? I worked on, so this time round, I worked on this section here. So this is section 4, which is the April section. It's got the bird in it. I enjoyed stitching that, and the leaves were quite interesting. I made a mistake. I think I made quite a lot of mistakes around this section. I got my stitching off. You can probably see there where my needles, my thread's been in, and I've had to rip it out. So I did do some frogging. I've made a couple of mistakes around. I made a mistake here in this section where I've added a stitch where it doesn't need to be. But other than that, I don't think I've got any other mistakes that I haven't ripped out. I've generally, on this section, if I've made a mistake, I have frogged it and restitched it, because it's been in a section like this where it's going to be noticeable if something is out, and my stitching will, if I miscount or put a stitch in the wrong place on this section, it's going to mess up all of this section. So I've had to make sure I rip it out, correct it, and put it in the right place. So yeah, I think I made a mistake up here where that was a little bit too high, so I had to frog that and then restitch it. So yeah, but I made a mistake in the blue section here, and that's pretty inconsequential because it was only a stitch that I had stitched that didn't need to be stitched, but otherwise it would have just been a blank square. So it's not something that would have made a huge difference to the rest of the pattern. So I've left that in and not bothered to rip it out, because I didn't want to have to, you know, go back and rip out a number of stitches just to correct one. So I've left that as is. But yeah, that is how it is. I'm quite pleased with this. There was a lot of the blue section to work, and I think when it comes around to this bit, I think this is mainly the dark blue. I haven't properly had a look at that part of the chart yet, but I'm looking forward to being able to stitch the middle section, because it does look like you can see that there's something missing, and it does look a bit odd. But yeah, I'm really loving the way that it is looking at the moment, and I am pleased with this so far. So I have put this one down for the time being, because for some reason this last week I have been watching Stitch With Me videos. I have been watching Teresa Little Stitcher, and somebody mentioned it. I think it was somebody mentioned that Teresa Little Stitcher has a series of videos where she gives you tips and tricks excuse me, tips and tricks and information on working full coverage pieces for the first time, or as a beginner. And so I decided to watch that whole series, and I've done that, and I'm looking at my Life is an Open Book piece with new eyes. So so I've been working on that over the last few days. I will try and insert a picture of what it looked like the last time. I'll insert a picture of what the finished piece will look like, and then a picture of what my piece looked like last time. I was having issues with this piece because I think what made it difficult for me was that I started stitching this from paper, and then I switched to Pattern Keeper, and when I was on Pattern Keeper doing this project, I was going cross country. I think that's what messed me up. I was going cross country. I was stitching lots of stitches in lots of different places just to finish threads, and then because I no longer had access to Pattern Keeper, that I had to go back to my paper pattern and figure out where I was, what I'd completed and what I hadn't, and so that was really really taxing, and that messed me up. So from now on I've been working from the paper chart to do this, and I find it a lot more easier at the moment because I know where I am now. I'm kind of up to date with where I am. I have lots of random stitches that I haven't put in, so this is what it's looking like at the moment. So up here I have lots of stitches missing, and I've been trying to look at my pattern and figure out what those stitches are, and there were a load over here as well, but I've got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to choose a thread that's closest to these colours, fill that section in and be done with it, because I can't for the life of me get my brain to follow the chart to find the right symbols to fill in all these random stitches. It's doing my head in. So I decided to stop trying to fill those in and start working around here, and I have been making progress. So today I have done all of this section. Tell a lie, no, I did 100 stitches up here yesterday, and today I've done all of this section here. So that's 500 stitches. I've done all of this section just today, and I'm getting into a groove. I'm getting into a groove with it, and I've gone back to parking because I'm finding that is actually working. Having watched Teresa Little Stitcher's video, I understand what I'm supposed to do now. I'm understanding a bit better how the parking is meant to work for me, and so I have been trying the way that she does it, or did do it in that video, and that seems to be working for me at the moment. So hopefully I can continue to do that and get into a groove with this as I have done, and I can finish up sections. So I've been working in, I just finished this box here, and I plan to either start this box and go up like that in the diagonal, or start in the blue and then come down in the diagonal. But either way, I would love to just be able to just do a big chunk of it like that, but that's going to be frustrating for me to work big chunks, and I think it's easier for me to just work in little boxes, just work in one box at a time and complete a box at a time and move upwards, and that way I think I will see more progress, and that will spur me on to finish this up. So this is where I am with this piece, and I am really pleased with how fast that is moving along, or has done today. So yeah, so that's the new progress for me on this piece. So yeah, that is it, I think. Lastly, I have some incoming things that I have picked up in relation to my cross stitching. So I was watching, and have been over Christmas, I was watching a lot of Sarah the Stitching Mummy. I was watching her podcast, and I've seen some of the stuff that she's been working on, and I really like the look of them. So one of them is this chart by Jeanette Douglas, and it's called My Story. It has a number of novelty stitches in it, and I love the way hers looks so much I decided to get hold of the chart, and I got it from Fobbles in the UK, and it's a booklet. It's not just one page, this is a booklet. So I'm a bit daunted by it. I still really do like it, but I found that the threads that are used in this booklet, I don't have any of them. There are no conventional threads in this. They're silk threads, and I don't know, novelty threads, Krynic. There are Mill Hill beads in here. So I'm going to have to figure out my own way on this journey with these novelty stitches. But I'm going to give it a go at some point in the future. Not right now because I have other projects on the go that I want to finish up, but I really liked the look of this, and I like the idea of playing around with novelty stitches, so I picked this up. So that was thanks to the Stitching Mummy. Then she also mentioned on her podcast another chart that she had got hold of. This one was a free chart by the Victoria Sampler Company, and this is what it looks like. I really loved the look of this. It's a winter scene, and it's got lots of little sections. So you've got the wintry scene there. I don't know, spring, summer, autumn. Maybe that's what it is. It's called, what was it called? I've forgotten what it's called now. Year long. I'll insert it on the screen. I can't remember what it's called, but Year Long Stitcher, something like that. It's not actually written on here, but it is meant for 28 count fabric, I think, by the look of this. I haven't looked too closely at it because I just like the design. I liked the little motif type sections of this. I liked the way it looked, and I thought that would be fun to stitch. So because she said it was free, I went onto the website, had a look, and I think it was Facebook that she directed viewers to, and picked up a copy of this, All Year Stitch or something like that. But yeah, I'll leave the information in the description box below if I've not done it on screen already. And lastly, I picked up a chart which both the Stitching Mummy and Desiree, the Addicted Stitcher, are working on together, and this is called, his name is Jesus Chart, and it's that one there, and it's done. You can do it in monochrome, you can do it in lots of different colours, you can do it however you want. This was a free chart, and it was by Joyful Expressions, and I picked that up online as well. So it's designed for 14 count Aida or 28 count even weave, and what does it say? Design fits a standard 12 by 16 inch frame. I liked the look of this, so I thought it would be, because it's lots of words, words relating to Jesus. Whoops! I thought it would be quite an easy stitch, probably quite a quick stitch as well. So I'm hoping to have a go at this at some point in the future. Yeah. So that is that. Those are all my stitch. Oh yeah, one last thing I picked up. Now these were recommended by Ellie Welly Stitcher. I'd seen a number of people using these magnets to hold their fabric together. So you know when you've got excess fabric around a piece and you want to hold back that fabric, so, or roll it up and make sure it doesn't get in the way of your stitching. A lot of people are using these little magnet thingies to hold them together. So I picked up a packet of these. I think they're 18 in a pack. Got them on Amazon. Rich and Ray Reusable Silicone Fun. Pack of 20. There's quite a lot in here. There's a number of them. Anything I've found with these, so that they came like that. One thing I found was that these ones, I suppose it depends on the brand you buy, who you buy from or whatever, they were so tightly stuck together. One of them, I pulled it so hard that I actually busted it, because it was literally like, look, I mean, it wasn't coming apart. It was like it was stuck like glue. So yeah, see there, I can't get it off now. That is impossible to unstick. So yeah, that's how that one got broken. So beware of that. Be careful when you get them not to bust them apart like I've done. But that is it. Those are all my projects that I've been working on. Like I said, I have worked on, my daughter and I have been working on a latch hook project, but that is downstairs at the moment, and I think she may be working on that right now. So I'm going to leave that until next time round, and I'll show you how we've been getting on with that one. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.